And good morning to you, meteorologist Joey Sovine here at the Live 5 Alert Desk with an update on the tropics, which got awfully busy over the weekend. Let's start out first here with what's going on at home. Pretty quiet. Now, you will notice down across the Gulf of Mexico, a lot of rain down here. It's all marching westward. We'll talk about this tropical disturbance headed that way coming up in just a little bit. But let's swing it all the way out to the west coast. We're watching what is now post-tropical cyclone Hillary. This was major hurricane, Category 4 hurricane, came up the west coast of Mexico near the Baja Peninsula of California. And then all that moisture, tropical moisture, which usually doesn't get pushed this far north up into the desert southwest and southern California. Well, that was certainly not the case with this storm. It made it all the way up in there. Some spots, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain, which for us is not that big of a deal. We can handle it. But in those areas, they just don't handle that much water quite as well as us. And there's been a lot of flooding that's been ongoing, widespread flood warnings ongoing this morning. A lot of roads washed out into Southern California, even some severe weather and some gusty winds. Although thankfully, as this moved up into Southern California, we saw this start to weaken quite substantially. In fact, this crossed the border technically as a tropical storm and then quickly became post-tropical, but that was the first time since the 1930s that we had a tropical storm come in to that part of California. Let's talk about elsewhere in the tropics, and we hop right down into the Gulf of Mexico. That tropical wave that I was mentioning, you can see right there, has an 80% chance of development. So we are likely to have a tropical depression, tropical storm form today or tonight as this moves toward the coast of Texas. Now, good news is, doesn't have a lot of time out over water, but still we're going to be watching that. It will have some impacts there in the southern coast of Texas, south of the Houston, Galveston area. And then we swing it out in the tropics, and boy, we went from nothing to a lot really quickly last week into the weekend. And we are watching another X here. This is off the coast of Africa. This is likely to become a tropical depression or tropical storm over the next couple of days as well. And then we have some names out there. We have Emily, circle right there. We have Gert, circle right there. These are not very good circles that I'm drawing here, but you can see it. And then Franklin right here in the Caribbean. Now, I will say Emily and Gert, you do not need to know really anything about it. These both are likely to fall apart in the next 24 to 48 hours. But nonetheless, named storms out there in the Atlantic. But Franklin's going to be a little bit different. Franklin right now in the Caribbean, huge flare-up of thunderstorms. Now, thankfully, it's not completely organized from the top down, so this it looks a little bit more impressive on the satellite imagery than it actually is. But nonetheless, a lot of moisture gathering down in the Caribbean. Now Tropical Storm Franklin with winds at 50 miles per hour. Notice it's moving west at 12 miles per hour. So all things in the Caribbean, we always wonder, when are they going to come north? Well, this one's not going to take very long. In fact, forecast by the time we get into tonight to kind of stall out and then turn northward. At that point, this would come across the island of Hispaniola, right across the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And the biggest concern there, where we're talking about a tropical storm, not a hurricane, is that this would produce a tremendous amount of rainfall. Yes, some gusty winds, but a tremendous amount of rainfall with some flooding in those locations. Then it pulls away and kind of jogs to the north and east as we go into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So what we're going to see is this storm turn north and then maybe to the north and east for a few days. The biggest question is what happens after Saturday. A lot of models take this north. There are some that lean it back closer towards the U.S. So we'll be watching that. But once this storm system gets above the Dominican Republic, we start to get some wave energy, some swell energy that kind of ripples out from the center there and works its way toward the coast of the U.S. So for us, I think we'll have to watch out towards the Thursday, Friday time frame, maybe even toward the weekend. Maybe it won't make it here by then. But I think towards Friday and the weekend, we have to watch what could be some elevated swell coming in, some wave energy that results in some rip currents out at our beaches. Now, that will come north. Here's a look at some of the computer models on this storm system that we're watching. The reason why I'm talking about Franklin so much, once again, again, is because all the other storms are not going to come anywhere close to us. And Franklin, if it takes this track right here that most of these models are showing, right out into there by early next week, this is going to most likely turn north and never come anywhere close to the U.S. But it could bring some rip currents to our coast, so we'll be watching that. And you never know. These models have a tendency to change from day to day, so we just have to make sure that this doesn't come farther west with time as we go into early next week. So once again, as we take a look at the tropics in totality right now, we have that one disturbance that we're watching in the Gulf of Mexico, but that's headed towards Texas, so that will not have impacts on us. We have Gert and Emily, which are likely to fall apart in the next couple of days. And then that last X there, all the way over towards the coast of Africa on the right-hand side of the screen, that may become our next named storm on the list. In fact, I got to check this list. That only looked at the next couple of names at the end of last week, and then we saw, what, 3 named storms in the course of 24 hours over the weekend. So we're going right down the list of named storms. So then we would be on to the H name as we go into next week. And it looks like I don't have the list right here on me. But of course, we'll get that updated by the time we get closer with either that storm system in the Gulf of Mexico or that one farther out in the Atlantic, likely to be the next 1 or 2 named storms. I'd say the one in the Gulf of Mexico stands a little bit better chance of becoming our next tropical depression or tropical storm. We'll keep you updated with the very latest. Once again, you can always get updated on the tropics. It's always there for you on a Live 5 First Alert weather app. It's that busy stretch. We always say from the middle of August to the middle of October is the busiest 8-week stretch. You just got to take it week by week. This week, we don't have anything that's of concern to us. We'll see if next week we'll continue that path. I think as long as we can keep Franklin well off of our coastline, we should be good to go. The one behind that may turn north a little bit quicker, the one that hasn't developed yet. And Gert, along with Emily out there, don't look to be concerned. And whatever's in the Gulf of Mexico is headed towards Texas. So hopefully that makes sense for you. In summary, no worries for us right now, but we'll keep you updated as we go through the week. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Live 5 Alert Desk. And don't forget, the latest is always there for you on our Live